In 1905, they called it a Temple of Justice, a grand brick monument rising over Dothan, Alabama, complete with a soaring bell tower and hallways built to echo with fairness, order, and the rule of law. It looked like progress. It sounded like justice. But while the bell rang and the gavels fell, another story was quietly unfolding inside those walls. One written not in law books, but in exclusion, in power, in silence. This is the hidden history of the original Houston County Courthouse, its celebrated rise, the injustices it sheltered, and the strange twist of fate that led to its destruction. Houston County came into existence in 1903, the last of Alabama's 67 counties to be carved from the map. And with a new county came a familiar demand, a courthouse worthy of the future. Dothan won the honor. Architect Andrew J. Bryan, known for designing impressive public buildings, was hired to bring that vision to life. Construction began in February 1905, and just 210 days later, on October 28th, the courthouse officially opened. It was formidable, purpose-built to project permanence and authority. At its heart hung a massive bell that rang over Dothan for more than half a century. To the people of the growing city, this wasn't just a building. It was a promise, a civic compass meant to guide justice impartially. But promises, as history reminds us, are easy to carve into stone and easier still to break. Behind the courthouse's proud exterior, something darker was taking root. This wasn't a single corrupt ruling or a lone bad actor. It was systemic, quiet, repeated, and devastating. The problem lived where justice is supposed to begin, the jury box. Juries are meant to reflect the community, a panel of peers, but in Houston County, that reflection was being deliberately distorted. Defense attorneys began noticing a troubling pattern, especially in capital cases. Qualified African American jurors were being dismissed at alarming rates. A peremptory strike here, a coincidence there. Individually, each case was hard to challenge, but taken together, the picture became undeniable. Juries deciding life and death cases were overwhelmingly, sometimes entirely, white, in a county with a significant black population. The Temple of Justice was starting to sound hollow. In 2011, the pattern finally cracked the surface. The Equal Justice Initiative, led by civil rights attorney Brian Stevenson, filed a sweeping federal lawsuit against District Attorney Douglas Valeska. The case, Hall et al. Versus Valeska et al., wasn't about one defendant or one trial. It was about the system itself. The plaintiffs were African American citizens who alleged that they had been systematically excluded from jury service solely because of their race. The data was damning. From 2006 to 2010, in death penalty cases, the DA's office struck roughly 80 to 82% of qualified black jurors. The result was predictable and lethal. Houston County, according to EJI, had one of the highest per capita death sentencing rates in Alabama. The lawsuit drew a direct line between racially engineered juries and extreme sentencing outcomes. Justice wasn't just failing, it was being weaponized. What made the lawsuit so devastating wasn't novelty. It was repetition. This behavior had already been flagged and condemned by appellate courts. One of the plaintiffs, Vicki Allen Brown, had been the subject of such a ruling back in 1998, yet the practice continued. According to EJI, this wasn't accidental. It was policy. The lawsuit leaned on the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment and the Supreme Court's Batson v. Kentucky decision, which explicitly forbids racial discrimination in jury selection. This wasn't new law. The prohibition dated back to 1875. What was new was the demand for accountability. Federal oversight to stop the practice and prevent it from quietly continuing behind closed doors. As the legal reckoning unfolded, the courthouse itself was already crumbling. By the late 1850s, the once grand building had fallen into serious disrepair, and rather than preserve it, Houston County chose demolition. In the early 1960s, the wrecking ball swung. The 1905 courthouse, symbol of the county's founding ideals, was erased. In its place rose a modern structure in 1962, functional, efficient, and utterly soulless. In hindsight, the demolition feels almost symbolic. A physical erasure of a building that housed decades of injustice. As if replacing the structure could cleanse the system inside it. It couldn't. Today, almost nothing remains of the original courthouse. Almost. The bell was spared. After passing through private hands, it was eventually returned to the county and now rests on a stone pedestal downtown, accompanied by a plaque recounting the building's official history. But the bell tells more than the plaque admits. It once called court to order. Now, in silence, it bears witness to voices excluded, to jurors denied their civic duty, to defendants judged by panels that were anything but peers. The bell memorializes a temple of justice, but the truth lives in the records, the data, and the people who fought, often uphill, to make justice mean what it claimed to be. The story of the Houston County Courthouse is really two stories. One is about a building, a proud monument that rose, failed, and was torn down. The other is about an idea, the promise of equal justice, betrayed for decades before being dragged into the light. Brick and mortar don't create justice. People do. And when power goes unchecked, even the grandest temples can rot from the inside out. Thanks for walking this road with us. If you're drawn to the stories hiding behind historical markers, the ones that complicate the postcard version of the past, hit subscribe and keep traveling with us. History remembers the buildings. We're here for the truth inside them.